So, today we're going to talk about why supercar don't excite us anymore. Well, I don't think, for me, I'm still sitting on the fence with that one, but I think Joshua is quite hard on that idea that supercars don't excite him anymore.
Okay, maybe not say that it doesn't excite me anymore. I think this topic came about when I looked at the current Ferrari catalog and I just realized that there is nothing in there that I lust after.
Hmm,
And this is kind of like the first time since I was born, I guess, that
yeah.
there is nothing in the Ferrari catalog that I'm like, yeah, one day if I make enough money, well, if I'm rich enough, basically, I'm going to go to the Ferrari showroom and say, yes, I want that one.
Okay. But how I see is like, don't you think it's just like a fault in the Ferrari lineup? Maybe this current era, they're just not making cars that are interesting or exciting enough. What do you think about that? Or is it like all other supercars also like you feel the same way?
That's where I was going, because even if you look at the current McLaren lineup, there really is nothing that I'm actually really interested in.
Mm,
There is nothing in there that is like, yes, I need that. I really need that in my life. Or even,
yeah.
uh, I was going to say Lamborghini. I know I'm going to get crucified for this, but the Lambo is the only one that is still cool in my eyes. But the problem why they are still cool is because they are still old school.
Outdated a bit.
Yeah, they're all outdated.
Yeah.
So there's nothing really modern. There's nothing new that is like, yes, that's the supercar I want. There's nothing I want to hang on my bedroom wall to say,
Mm,
yes, when I grow up, that's gonna be mine.
yeah. But maybe when Lamborghini does eventually come out with their new lineup, right?
hmm
You can have a better idea if it's like, just all supercars or you just have a soft spot for Lamborghini.
No, but if you look at the good example, the good benchmark for this is looking at the magazines like Autocar. When they do a supercar comparison, I'm not excited by it at all. Because last time when you had supercar comparisons, you had the 458, you have the Gallardo, you have the R8. You're like, yes, I want to read that. I want to see who wins and I want to feel motivated to get one.
Yes.
Now, whenever you see, well, you can see a YouTube video about the Artura. I saw a couple of them before and I was like, okay, so
I think I'm mostly on you with this one, especially with like the Ferrari lineup and a McLaren one as well. But I think this is just like limited to both of us because if you Google something like 2022 cars to look forward to or supercars to look forward to, it's like it's still filled with Ferraris and McLarens. You have like the 720S, the Artura, you have the SF90, and then the F8 Tributo, which are all meh, you know? I get that in that sense that I'm not really like that intrigued by or like even like interested. And I don't actually know why. But going out of like just these brands, lah, like let's expand out a bit.
mhm.
What are like the more notable modern supercars you say that will catch your eye now if you saw it? To be fair, before you answer that, right, I think you might be lying to yourself a little bit by saying that you don't get excited when you see like a modern Ferrari on the road because it's still one heck of a masterpiece, don't you think? Like just the car itself, seeing it on the road.
I've got a counterpoint to this.
Mm,
Yesterday, walking around where I am now, there
mm,
were two white roadsters. One was an R8 V10 Spider, the brand new
yeah,
sharp angle one. The
yes.
second one was an MX-5.
Here we go again. Okay.
Yes. Guess which one I stopped and stared at?
Mm. Yeah, I guess if it was like a supercar and like a Corolla, then obviously you would stop and look at the supercar more than to look at the Corolla. But if there are two interesting cars, you would go for like the one that, how to say, would pique your interest more, which is like more ordinary fun cars.
I do have another counterpoint to my counterpoint though, is that
Okay,
there are actually two supercars now that excite me a lot.
okay.
That's the Huracan Sterato and the 911 Dakar, whatever that off-roading one is called, the newly launched one.
There's a 911 Dakar, like officially by Porsche.
Yeah. Wait, do you know about the Sterato?
It's just one of the many variants of Huracan that they have, no?
No, it's more than that.
Or is it like off-road version?
Yes, it's that one.
Ah, okay. Quirky is the thing that you're going for.
I won't say quirky, but okay, yeah, it's quirky, yeah, it's unique, basically. Because
Unique,
it
yeah.
looks cool.
Yeah, because there's still a certain novelty to something like that. Whereas
Yes,
like
novelty is the word.
supercars, yes, yes, supercars nowadays, like, okay, you are rich and then you have one and then that's about it, but it doesn't really have character to it. It's just another supercar.
Yeah, I think you have hit the nail on the head where a supercar is not as special as it once was.
That's fair enough.
Because if we're looking at pure speed, any EV can be on par with a supercar, any competent EV. Because
Yeah.
I'm not sure, have you seen the Camisas drag race, that latest one with the Lucid and the Bugatti?
Was the Lucid actually faster?
Yeah.
Okay.
And well, the previous episode was, I think, the Genesis GV60, and
Yeah.
that thing took off like a stabbed rat. I was amazed at how fast this mid-sized EV crossover thing is. So when it comes to that, you're like, why do you want a supercar anymore? If you want the sensation of speed, EV offers you that sensation of speed. If you want looks, I would say that the supercars these days aren't the most exciting to look at. They're
Yeah.
they're not as elegant as, especially going back to Ferrari. This will probably also cause me to lose any favor with anyone at Maranello, but their current design is not the best.
Mm.
I don't see anything that you're like, yes, that is beautiful. The smaller ones, the SF90 and the 296, it's okay. I think their mouths are a bit gaping and they look a bit odd.
Mhm.
And then the larger V12 front engine, the 812s and the larger ones,
Mhm.
are just a bit too, there's too many veins, too many fins, it's all a bit slashy, and don't get me started on the Purosang. That's no.
Yeah, I think everyone has beef with that. But
I admire the
I think
V12, not the looks.
it's true lah. I think currently, like, I don't want to go too deep into like the current Ferrari lineup, but definitely the design hasn't been what it used to be last time. Especially like, I think last time it was nice because the curves were nice and everything, and it was still subtle. But nowadays it's just like overdoing it. But that's going to be another topic for another day about styling, like how supercars are designed these days. Because I genuinely think that it's like over styled. But yeah, you make a fair point there.
I was gonna say that there are two camps of supercars right now. The ones that are too overstyled and the ones that are too understyled. There's no happy medium. I don't see any supercar that I think is genuinely beautiful right now. It's a big
Example of
statement.
understyle.
Uh, the Gordon Murray T50S.
I have to
Well,
look
the
that
fan
up.
car. I think that looks just a little bit understyled to me, but I know Gordon Murray is, that's his shtick. I understand the minimalism, but I just think it's a bit too understyled. This is me criticizing Gordon Murray. I'm truly apologetic, but that's my opinion of that design.
Yeah, yeah. See what I mean. This is supposed to be the same designer that made the
Yeah, McLaren F1,
McLaren
yeah, that
F1,
dude.
right? I think the reason why it might be understyled, right, is that he's trying to follow like the same design theme as like the McLaren F1, which was like from the past.
Yeah, but it still looks understyled to me. And
Mm,
like I said, there is no supercar now that looks
just right.
just, yeah,
I think there is,
go on.
but they're not supercars anymore. We're talking about like these two-seater sports cars, like Lotus,
The Emira.
yeah, the Emira. That's all right, right? But
Okay,
obviously it's not the
yeah.
same tier lah.
Yeah, I keep coming back to think, if I were to have a supercar right now, if I were to have only one in my garage right now, let's say of this era, it will be the Aventador. I know it's gone off sale, but
I think you just have a sweet spot with the Aventador and Lamborghini in general because I personally think that it is severely overstyled and I wouldn't want to be in that car looking like a douche.
you do look like a massive douche when you drive a Lambo. There's no denying that.
Yeah.
But that's the cool bit about owning a supercar. It's, you want to feel special. You want to feel, I want it orange and with flames, and that's my idea of a supercar. I want, look at me.
What can I even say? But so far we've been talking about styling, like how
Yeah.
supercars look and how they're like there's no novelty to it anymore and sometimes it's overstyled. But so let's move on to like performance. As we
Okay.
all know, like supercars nowadays are insanely super. They're like spaceship on wheels already. And do you actually think that people who own these cars actually use the performance that comes with it?
No?
And yeah, okay, I saw the GT3 RS.
Yes.
That is a supercar, okay. The styling is something else, but let's talk about the performance. That car, I can't see anyone enjoying themselves with that car on the road, like on a normal piece of road. And this can also be extended to driving. I think that it's just too much power. Not too much power, but it's just too nerve-wracking to drive on like normal piece of road. And not to mention how like uncomfortable it could be on like normal driving. And hence I don't see what's the point of having one to drive on the road.
Okay, I agree and disagree with your statement. When I
Mm.
meant no to saying that you can't use your full power of your supercar in public, is that where do you normally see supercars? In front of Harrods in Knightsbridge just going brap brap brap.
In the jam.
Yes, that's the majority of supercar flashy owners. The
And that
GT3
kind of
RS though,
defeats the
yeah, go on.
purpose. That kind of defeats the purpose of owning such a nice car. If you say you're a purist and you enjoy driving, what are you doing with like your supercar on a busy piece of road where you're just on idling traffic? There's really no reasoning behind it other than like wanting to stand out,
Yeah.
which is fine, okay, which is fair enough, but it's not what we want to do and doesn't align with our character. And that's why like the idea of it is not that
No, if you want to
exciting.
stand out, going back to me wanting a Lambo, that is the king of standing out. That's why you buy a Lambo. You buy a Lambo not to drive it, you buy a Lambo to show off.
Okay, so it's either Lambo or no supercar if
No, no, no.
if you want to show off.
The Lambo is to show off, but if you want a true supercar, that's where the GT3 RS comes in. I think
Okay,
that
yeah.
there are people who can have fun with a GT3 RS on the Tug or a windy road and they will enjoy it. But what I think is that you can have 90% of the enjoyment for 50% less.
Oh yeah, but going to the point where you say you can enjoy like on tube, right? I got to disagree with you on that. Obviously, supercars like for example GT3 RS definitely can handle like the tube very well. I'm sure it's very stable around like high speeds and it grips very well. But you see, when you're tubing, right, you're going around corners and I don't think you're going all that fast. You don't go more than 100, right, on those kind of roads. Or it wouldn't be safe to do so, I would say.
Yes, if it's not a
Um,
close call with a professional driver.
Yes, yes. So, but then you think of it like the car is so fast to the point that 100, you're just in like what, second gear, third gear at max.
Mm-hmm.
And bear in mind, right, the GT3 RS red lines at about like what, 8, 9,000.
Yeah, around there.
I doubt you can even reach close to that before you have to brake, let alone like go to the next gear.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's very, I mean, personally, I've never tried like tugging on like a supercar to even begin with, but I would feel that incredibly frustrating to have reached the end of like the straight before I can shift up to the next gear or pull to the red line. And I think with that, I wouldn't be able to enjoy it as much as I can. In contrast, if you had like a slower car, you can actually rev the nuts out of it and still have time to brake or change the next gear and continue revving it out because it's just not as fast.
That's why everyone should get a Honda Beat. 3 cylinders, 660cc. That's all you need.
Yeah, exactly.
You can be
But obviously, it
screaming at
wouldn't
fifth.
corner as nice.
You scream at fifth,
But
and you're still doing only, I guess, 60 kilometers an hour.
mm,
Hyperbole
and
much, but
I
yeah.
guess that's where the fun comes from,
I
right?
think
To
so.
be like
Yeah.
on edge and like screaming. So because obviously at the end of the day, it's not a competition, or who can finish the course like the fastest.
There's how much
You finish
enjoyment you get out, yeah.
faster, yeah, exactly. And I also think that okay, obviously I'm not a professional, and I would also think that most people that take these cars to be are not professional drivers, although they
Exactly.
might be experienced, they are not
90% of
professional.
supercar
So
owners are either young influencers or old rich businessmen.
yeah. So I would think that it's incredibly like nerve-wracking in a negative way to like be so on edge, knowing that you could just like do something wrong and die just because of how powerful and capable the car is.
Not only that, it's also frustrating in the sense that you are not using your car's full potential. You're like, another corner.
Mm,
Yeah, I'm still only in 4,000
mm.
RPM.
And that might make you want to push it more than you can actually push it and then put yourself in like danger,
Yeah.
you know. But that's slightly far-fetched. Um, but other than that, being in a car like that, obviously you buy a car not just to tow, right? You buy a car to like drive.
Yes.
And I don't imagine supercars are incredibly comfortable to be in. Well, some might have softer suspension, but if you go towards more track focused cars like the GT3 RS,
Well, I think
you're
supercars
gonna
have
have gonna
improved
suffer.
over the years in terms of livability, but
Yeah.
this is where I'm gonna bring up super SUVs.
Mm.
Like, They offer 95% of what a supercar can do, but you can still bring your kids to school and you can still go to the supermarket and you're still sitting above everyone else and you can still probably go around the Nürburgring faster than anyone in a hot hatch.
But with a super SUV, right, can't really bring that to talk with like confidence, can you?
I honestly think it'll be more fun to tour in like a Range Rover Sport SVR than a, I don't know, GT3 RS.
Oh my god, I can't imagine.
Because if
It's
we
got to be so
define,
scary.
yeah, if we define fun as being at your limit, doing it in a Range Rover Sport will be more terrifying than doing it in a GT3 RS. Like,
But that puts you
oh
in
my,
more
oh
risk.
my, oh my. Okay, survived.
I can just imagine how it will bounce already around the corners.
Well, I don't think it'll be that bad, but you're still sitting like 3 feet off the ground. It'll
Hey,
be a,
but
yeah.
bearing that in mind, right, you also have to know that these super SUVs are not the most comfortable to be on road as well. Some of them are quite, the suspension is tuned quite aggressively,
Yeah, but
if I'm not mistaken.
I think it's fair to say that they are all going to be more comfortable than a supercar in terms
Mm,
of living with it day to day. Just sitting up high and sitting up straight is already a comfort benefit to the SUV. And
yeah, that's why you see like super SUVs nowadays are more popular
yeah, and
than like
that further
supercars actually.
diminishes the specialness of supercars. So that's why you're like, oh, a supercar. There's nothing,
Super SUV can do the same.
yeah. And the lust for the supercar is not as strong as it once could have been. Because
Mm,
whatever you can
mm,
get from a supercar, there are other, I won't say better alternatives, but there are more choices available to fulfill that lust.
mm.
And whatever
Like
specific lust that
EV
you
can
have,
fulfill that last.
your EV can fulfill that lust for speed. Your SUV, the super SUV, can fulfill your lust for showing off. Because I'm sure a Range Rover Sport SVR can, with its 5-liter supercharged V8, you turn it on, everyone will still look. And everyone will get a better
Equally,
view
yeah.
because it's bigger than everything else.
Yeah.
So,
And also not to mention, right, I feel like a lot of more moderate supercars, their performance are reaching like supercar level already.
yeah,
So like a Cayman, would you say a Cayman GT4 is a supercar?
we've had this argument offline before, and we still haven't come to an agreement. So
Yeah.
let's put this on record right now. I say no.
Um yeah, okay, I would say no lah.
Wait, what
Yeah.
the hell?
Just because no, I mean it's true. Like it's like half no, half yes. Okay, so the half no part is that sorry, yes, it's a supercar because the performance is reaching like supercar levels, but no, in the sense that it still very much look like a normal car, which is what I appreciate sometimes. Not wanting to look too flashy, but I think the Cayman GT4 is at the part where it's like the sweet spot, I would say, between too aggressive and still being moderate enough.
Yeah, I will agree with you that that is the current new garage goal. I will put it that way. If I want a supercar
Mm,
for
yeah,
actual driving and not being the person from Harrods.
yeah. So you see, these kind of like more moderate supercars can already do what a proper supercar can do, and of course not 100%, but like it's really good enough. You know, we can even extend this. Don't need to be so hardcore like the GT4, but like for example, I mentioned earlier, like the Lotus Emira
Mm-hmm.
or Alpine. You know, these
Ooh,
cars are like good enough. You know,
yes. Here's a counterpoint.
and
Oh, here's an addendum.
yeah,
Ford Mustang.
Mustang. Um, whether or not it's a supercar or whether or not it excites me.
No, as in that same category of cars that not as
Mm.
supercar-y, but it's actually something that I would consider over a Ferrari.
Yeah, I think same for me. I
Especially like
think
if
it
you get the
sits
5
in
liter
the
V8
same.
and the GT350.
Yeah, it's very the performance is like serious performance, but I feel like how it looks is still like moderate enough, and at the same time shows some character. You know,
Yeah.
more so that these extravagant supercars that people just buy because of status. I think all these kind of cars, you know, if you get a Mustang, you don't get it because of status. You get it because you like it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference, I feel. So it's definitely more special in my opinion.
There is also another one I would like to add, since I'm really pushing the boundaries of what I can add into this list.
Yeah. Yeah.
Low spec 911.
Oh, yes. Okay, 911. Before we talk about low spec, do you think 911. I mean, I'm sure we've talked about this offline before, but are 911s supposed to be like a supercar? I have an answer in my head, but I just want to know what you think.
Okay, you're gonna have to give the answer here first because I'm pretty sure whatever you're gonna say right now is gonna contradict what you said before that. Offline, I mean.
Okay. So I think, at least in my opinion, I think 911 is, with all its variants, right, can really stretch from sports car to like supercar level. So if we start at a base Carrera, right,
Uh-huh.
that thing has barely got what 400, low 400 horsepower, which I feel like is plentiful,
Oh
but
yeah,
just the right amount for a supercar.
yeah.
And it doesn't have these big grills, wings, and giant wheels to come with it, and hence it makes it a supercar. Oh no, sorry, a sports car that you can live with day to day, a more lifestyle kind of supercar, rather than outright wanting to show off and to beat it on like the tube, to like go ham on the tube. I
Yeah,
think it's still like a very good balance.
I
And then
agree with you.
as you go higher up, it becomes more and more focused.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why personally, right, while I do think like the higher tier 911s, like the GT3 RS, are a marvel of engineering.
Mm-hmm.
Like the amount of engineering that is in it and the technology is like seriously so cool. I personally would rather own a base Carrera than a base 911 than a 911 with like big grills and wings, because it's just easier to live with and it suits me more.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you this question and I would just want a simple yes or no answer. How about
Okay,
would you get the GT3 Touring?
no, I won't. No, I won't.
Okay.
Of course, like the GT3 Touring is much more like moderate, I would say. Okay, let me just refresh my memory on how exactly it looks like. Okay,
Touring is the one without the wing and it still has the manual gearbox, I think.
yes,
And it still has that
yes. So,
the same engine as the GT3. So it's the naturally
ooh,
aspirated 4 liter, I think. I might be making a massive cock up here, lah, but
yes, you're right, because it shares the same engine as the GT3 RS.
okay.
I like the looks of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that with all the subtle addition to make it more like performance oriented, especially the wing, very nice.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't help to think that it wouldn't be as nice to daily drive as a more normal 911.
So just a C2S and normal the vanilla 911.
Yeah. I mean vanilla, but have nice options like to
We spent
like
hours on the
interior options
configurator,
and
yeah.
like all the nice. But personally, even if money was not an object, I think what I believe in and how my character is, I would prefer like the base 911, a more subtle one. I think I don't have to go too extra with it. Unless I want to track my car. But I would never do that, because like, would you want to bring your baby car to the track and trash it? I wouldn't do that.
No, I would not track my $1 million supercar.
Yeah.
But
But how about you on this one?
ah,
What do you think?
I totally agree with you with this getting the base 911. I am a proponent of the C2S. Just get a normal 911, that's
Mhm.
all you need, has all the power you need. Then, as this conversation was going on, when I mentioned the GT3 Touring, I realized
Yeah.
that I'm going to sound like a really big hypocrite right now because I remember the Turbo F existed.
Oh, okay. I can see how it appeals to you, because it's just mad speed,
The
and it's a
Turbo and
touring
the
car.
Turbo S is one of those cars that it's the subtle supercar because you don't
Yeah.
realize that it's the Turbo. It's the gentleman supercar.
Yes. Oh no, actually, you're making me
Exactly. I only remember the Turbo
you're
S
making me
existed.
to my yeah.
So all the
Oh,
past 5 minutes
yeah.
was just us totally forgetting the Turbo S existed.
Yes. I mean, I did think of it, but I just had a look at the Turbo S again, and I just remember that what you said was true. It's like the gentleman's sports car. It's not track focused by any means,
Nope.
but it's very fast. But it
Very.
doesn't try to tell everyone that it's fast.
Yeah.
It's like a sleeper feature. It's not show offy. I know I'm fast. I don't have to go fast, but it is fast.
It's one of those cars where you can just say, yeah, I'm going to go to Singapore in 2 hours from KL. I'll see you there.
Oh,
And you just go on the
yeah. Okay, I
North-South
think I might
Expressway
get
and
a
you're
Turbo
like,
S.
oh, it's 2 hours. I'm in Singapore. I'm an hour earlier than everyone else.
Because how this Turbo S is built, right? It's meant to be fast, but it's meant to be a tourer. So all the comfort features you have in like the base Carrera,
Mhm.
you still have them. It won't be too harsh, like still got back seats and everything. I mean,
Yeah.
of course the GT3 has back seats also, but you have everything you want. It's just that it's faster, and also I like the additional bits on the car as well compared to like the GT3. I think
What?
it's more the additional styling cues that they
Oh,
added on the Turbo S.
the wider ass and the
Wider R's, like the
the vent.
small wing.
Yes.
I think it's done just right for it to be like a gentleman's sports car. Not douchey,
Nope.
but you know what it can
Especially if you
do.
paint it in like black or slate grey.
Stay grey,
Because I
yes, yes.
remember
Oh,
Sime Darby, I think they brought one in, the Turbo S to Malaysia, the 992, and their
mm,
press car was
mm,
a either grey, brown, or black. One of those like granite colors. And not know that it was a Turbo S unless you were a proper Porsche perv.
yeah. Oh, how much do one of these go for?
I think it was 1.2 million without tax. I think
Oh
it could be with
man.
tax or without tax, but anyway, it's above a million.
Without, I'm sure it's without tax. I think it's almost 2 million, 1.8 million, I would think.
Yeah, well, in any case,
Oh, but
talking about the Turbo S though, will bring me on to Aston Martin.
okay.
Because
What
if
about
you're
Aston
gonna
Martin?
say you're gonna have a Turbo S, then that's a Grand Tourer already. Why don't you get something like a DBS Superleggera? I know it doesn't look as nice. Uh, DB11, that looks okay. You feel like Bond, or a
Hmm.
Bentley Continental GT.
Continental GT. Would you say that let's just skip the Aston Martin for now, come back to
Okay.
that. But the Bentley, the Continental GT, is that a supercar?
No.
It's more of a Grand
Yes.
Tourer, right?
But how I would define this genre of car is that if the word is exotic.
Yes, yes.
So in the garage, my dream hypothetical garage, there should be one exotic car.
Hey,
And
but you think of it,
yeah,
supercars are exotic,
yeah. So
no?
that's why it doesn't necessarily have to be a supercar anymore. There's this new genre of cars
Ah,
that have
yes, yes.
sort of merged into the supercar land. Maybe it
Mm-hmm.
has merged before. I'm sure you can make arguments for like 20 years ago that there were cars that have merged into the supercar land, but they're exotic. But these
The
days,
lines are
the lines are
blurrier now.
way
Yeah,
blurrier than, let's say, 20, 40 years
yeah.
ago.
Because hey, a G Wagon is exotic. It's not a supercar.
Yeah, but
It's
a
fast, but it's not a
G63
supercar.
can still absolutely hammer. If you wanted to, you can take a G63 onto a tube.
Yeah,
You would kind of survive.
I see where you.
So in the land of exotic cars, the lines are so blurred now that the supercar is not my default choice anymore.
Okay, I think you put it very accurate there on like how we are feeling about supercars in general. Because obviously we all want an exotic car. Okay,
Yes.
we are like enthusiasts. We would want one, but that's true. We won't turn our heads to a supercar for our first choice. In fact, like something like a G wagon would be exotic as well and would fit that theme in your garage.
Yeah,
But it doesn't have to be a supercar.
last time when you, especially in the 2010s, if you go back, what I think is the peak of the supercar, that space would
Mm,
be easily filled by a 458
mm,
because that covers
yes,
exotic, that
yes.
covers fast, that covers looks nice, that covers you open your garage and you're like, yep, I'll take that to work.
But now it's like SF90? Nah, not really.
Yeah, there are many other choices that I can think of that can replace that they can fill that space that I would rather have.
But so when we're talking about exotic cars, so obviously supercars, one of them,
Mm-hmm.
Grand Tourers,
Mm-hmm.
and of course like the Rolls Royce and all those. But how about super sedans? Do you think they can be termed as exotic?
I won't classify super sedans as exotic to the extent where I would put them in that space. The super sedan would be more
Mhm.
like if I was gonna buy an M5, that would still be a very daily driver car.
Okay. Before you move on,
Mm-hmm.
so let's see if I understand this correctly. 911, right?
Mm-hmm.
Base one is on the same tier as like an M5, daily drivable
Yeah,
and everything.
but
Turbo S is
I'll
like
still put
exotic.
the 911 into the exotic space, regardless of what variant it is, because if we were going back to the topic of two car garages before, the one we had the last episode, you'll have one daily driver
Yes.
and something exotic.
I see. So you're saying that the 911 by nature itself is already an exotic car.
Yes.
Okay, lah, like that's fair. But I think at least in my definition, right, I would still hope or want to daily drive the base 911. So perhaps in my so-called two-car garage, I will go for something that, with the 911 being the daily driver, I wouldn't mind having another exotic car. I mean, in your case, it's another exotic car, but for me, it's like
No, but I
separated. An exotic car has to
I
be,
do agree that it has the lines between exotic and common has integrated more thoroughly than it once was. Because let's say 30 years ago, there wasn't anything like a super SUV, which does supercar plus SUV.
yeah. I also think that nowadays, like cars having so many variants from like the same platform and body
Hmm.
makes it a lot blurrier, you know?
Yeah, because you can put the 911 in exotic because it is kind of exotic, but you can still use it every day. And there is a 99.99% chance that it will start on the button every day, regardless of weather, condition, whatever.
Yeah. So going back on our definition of exotic
Hmm.
cars, let's just expand on the list a bit on like what are the kind of cars that we can choose from. So just now I mentioned, obviously there are supercars, there are grand
Hmm.
tourers. What else could be in this same category?
Thank you. But you see, the thing I'm coming up with once you mention Grand Tourers is that the Grand Tourer I would really want is an M6, the M6 Grand Coupe. I know it's discontinued.
Yeah, but that's not exotic, is it?
It's not, but it's it will fill one of the spaces very well, and I'll put something like a Miata next to it.
So I guess the exoticness of a car is like left for personal interpretation. Would you say so? Because I personally don't think the M6 is on the same realm as the Bentleys and the Aston Martins.
Okay, but
I don't
I
think
agree.
so.
That's why the Miata in that case would probably be the exotic car.
Uh, that's very true. Yeah, I can see where you're coming from. Or like for example, an Alfa Romeo 4C, that is
Yes,
exotic,
but it's also not
you
expensive
know.
and not very well built. But yeah.
Or like a Abarth, the
Ooh,
Biposto.
yes.
That is
Yes.
exotic, right? So I guess I seeing the theme here, exotic means that it's very special. It's definitely like limited production, not very limited, but somewhat limited, not mass produced cars, I would say. And they are very rare,
I wouldn't even say that. It's
regardless
just
of
something
like
that
what the
tickles your
car is
fancy. It's
itself.
something that would make a car guy smile. It's something
Mm,
that
mm,
you
mm.
as a car guy would want to say, yes, give me the keys, let's go.
Because it's exotic, it's like
Yeah,
toy,
it's a,
right?
it's a
It's a
toy,
toy
yeah.
car, It's not meant to be something for you to use, rather something that you can enjoy. And I think we sort of have like a understanding here from like the point we made at the start is that nowadays when we think of filling the exotic car in our garage, the space for exotic car, we won't be just looking at supercars anymore. In fact, maybe supercars will be one of the last categories that we'll be looking at to fill that space.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that. I think that's why the supercars don't excite me that much because if I was going to fill that space in the garage with a car, I would be looking from the bottom up instead of looking from the top down in terms of, let's say, the supercar hierarchy. I'll be looking first at
Mm,
what I can get from a Miata, then go up to a
mm,
GR86, GR Yaris. That looks fun enough.
yeah,
Then it will be up to
yeah, yeah,
Supras, the Zs, Mustang, Caymans,
yeah,
then
yeah.
onwards up only to the supercars.
Mm. I think that's a good way to put it.
And because I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure by through each level already, I would have stopped somewhere before heading onto the Ferraris and the McLarens.
Mm, mm. Just because it just doesn't excite you and catch your eye anymore. If not, you would immediately go to that,
Yeah,
right?
and
We would start from
even
the
that,
top.
even when I'm hitting the Ferrari and the McLarens, I'll look at what's available used first, like 20 years ago.
Or yeah, exactly. Actually, I can agree with you on this one as well. Yeah. Because like we say, well, exotic is just has to be like something that tickles
Yeah,
you. And it could be anything. It could be from like God knows how long ago. And as long as it tickles you, it ticks that box.
and I'm still being tickled by the 458, and it's not at the same level as the SF90.
Mm, mm.
Or even like,
Yeah, that's a very good
what
way.
is there? The Countach. I know it's a dream, but I'll take one over an Artura.
Okay. Yeah, of course. Any day. Of course, it's a lot more expensive lah.
I don't actually know actually.
I think it might just be around the same.
And yeah, yeah, I'm possibly considering that.
Uh,
But yeah, that's I think how to summarize the why supercars don't excite us anymore. It's just maybe we're just old. Maybe we're just older. And we're just more realistic with what life has given us.
No, I would say, in my opinion, lah, I think what's happening here is that throughout the years, we have like broadened our perspective quite a bit on like, what we think is fun and what we want for ourselves. And an exotic car doesn't just mean a supercar anymore. Like there are a lot of things that can tickle us, as we learn more and more about like other kinds of cars. I would say, at least that's for me, lah.
Yeah, I think that's the product of getting older.
It's not even about the money. Yeah, yeah, getting
So we,
older,
we, we
yeah.
are getting older and we're
You know
getting
more, you
more.
see more.
Yes.
Just one final note is that last time it's the easiest to look at is like supercar. It's just so basic, right? You don't have any strong character yet or really know what you like. And then yeah, supercar is cool, right? But now that you've like grown older, you have a finer taste in like certain things and become more specific as well. And the generic supercar just doesn't, tick those boxes anymore.
Yes, but I would also like to blame the car industry for making these choices more blurred. I would
Yeah.
also contribute that blending of characteristics to be what has drawn interest
Mm.
away from the supercars. If that is one takeaway that I would like to
Mm.
emphasize here.
I think that's very good. It's because the automakers are getting more creative in making cars that are like exciting. It doesn't have to be just like a
Hmm.
supercar. And I think that's very good for the industry and for us consumers as well to have so many choices.
Yeah, and one car that can do so many things.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's just technological progress, lah.
Yeah, but that diminishes the value of the supercar, I think, in my mind.
There are a lot more options based on like your personality.
Yes. And here is where I would like, if we're going to end this soon, here is where I would like to
Mm.
remind you that actually, in terms of exotic cars that match a supercar, I can think of a couple in history that you might probably put ahead of their supercar counterparts in whatever era they were from. So let's say 80s. We had, I think it was the Ferrari 328, right? That or 308, 328 in the Mondial or whatever. You know, the wedge-shaped Ferraris. I would recommend a Lancia Delta Integrale.
Yeah. So that's for that period of
Yeah.
time.
So 90s, we've got the 348, 355s. What's wrong with getting a RX-7 FD or a R34 GTR?
NSX?
NSX, yeah.
Mm.
But that's already supercar. But yeah, an R34 GTR. That thing will whoop
Mm.
a Porsche.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's the level of there are cars that existed before that, but there are not a lot. Whereas now these days there are more.
There are more of those kind of cars.
And the reason why I bring this up is because I was on Auto Trader a couple of days ago while thinking of this topic, and my instinctive reaction was to see how much a Evo costs
Mhm.
or how much a STI costs. And I was like, yeah, if I want to get supercar thrills, I'm pretty sure both these rally homologation cars can offer me that thrill on a Tug or just daily driving. Four cylinder but turbocharged to high hell.
I mean, that is if you want your exotic car to be that kind of fun, lah.
Yeah, but I think I probably won't own one long term, but I think I could see myself trading whatever supercar that I have if I were to get one with, let's say, a
Mm.
boosted Subaru. It would be the most incomprehensible logical trade of all time, but I could see myself making that logical argument where I can have more fun being a total prick on the back road in a Subaru and just let the four-wheel drive handle everything.
Yeah. And I would say that suits
Yeah,
you. That suits your character. And the car that you own would say it all.
yeah, there you go. Another two-car garage will be a Aventador and a WRX STI.
Ah, I don't suppose you can daily drive your
I don't even know which one will be the daily
WRX.
driver then.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
if I were to get the WRX, it's going to be boosted till 600 over horsepower, and I don't.
Yeah.
There will be a 99.99% chance that every time I start it, it's just going to go pop, and you can't exactly daily
Well,
drive a Lambo.
so there you go. You've got two exotic cars for your two-car
Yep,
garage.
and then I'll
Congrats.
probably just take an Uber
And
everywhere
that
else.
would also say a lot. Yeah, I mean, who says the car has to like bring you
Yeah.
to places? You can take public transport, even though you had two exotic cars.
Uh,
That would be something else.
so here was what began a rational argument, and now we've ended up with a two-car garage that will never ever function. I sincerely apologize to anyone who
Well, I
has
hope
listened up to this point.
I think we came to a good realization, not just for our listeners, but for ourselves, because we've been. This is actually our fifth take on this
Yeah.
recording, and we always stop halfway because we just like there's just too many conflicts within ourselves and within the discussion. And I think right now, after recording this, we finally understand the root issue of like why they don't excite us anymore.
Yes, hopefully the listeners actually follow on with the thread because I'm also kind of lost right now. Oh well. In any case, I think
Okay.
we shall call this a day and stay tuned if you are so inclined to listen to another episode, hopefully. We don't normally have the habit of saying what our next episode is, so I guess you'll find out in whenever the next one comes out.
Yep, you'll find out when it's up.
Yep. Okay. Talk to you soon.